5:55 on the clock. I can't make this shit up. There will be a parental advisory sticker somewhere for future reference. It's time to get this party started. Long, long, long overdue. So without further ado, who is she and why is she here? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Angel. I'm also known as Coach. Coach Smiles. And yeah, excuse me, let me turn that down. That's unnecessary right now, isn't it? Who is she? Why is she here? She is here to help lead the way. That's why she's here. And this channel here, there's actually going to be two overall. Angel's side piece, pun intended, is going to be pretty raw. We're not looking for perfection around here. We lived that life, but we can be professional. So understand that not being professional is a new path, in a sense. So we're going to talk about whatever she is led to talk about from moment to moment, from video to video, from you name it. So this video, though, let's back up. This video, we're gonna let you get to know me just a little bit. This is not only for the ones who do know me, but the ones who think they know me, and the ones who would like to get to know me. This is going to be a platform where I help guide through my own stories, my own discoveries, my own journey over the last 42 years. 42 years old, have 3 children, and it's been one hell of a life. I was born and grew up in Flint, Michigan, technically just a couple of minutes north of Flint in a small town called Mount Morris, but it's Flint. And that's where I stayed for 41 years. I'm very much so still in Michigan. I'm just no longer in Genesee County, Michigan. And that has been a dream I didn't know needed to be fulfilled. Thank you. I grew up in a small town, single mother, only child, and I was born into this world, joke remains, her mother. I wasn't born her daughter. I was born her mini mother. I had my fingers up noses before I could even speak words. I understand why now. Not directed towards anything or anybody but myself. I just simply understand why that is now. There's a lot of things in my life that made complete sense as I was growing. And then there are things that made no sense at all until just over the last few years. The last year specifically. So I'm gonna, just to give you the heads up, I think what I'm going to do, we're at 5 minutes right now. I think what I'm going to be doing is breaking these get to know me videos up just a little bit so that they're, if you want to continue, you can continue. If not, then no big deal. My tribe will find me for certain. I am confident of that. With that being said, I grew up down the road from a Catholic church, what some consider to be the most beautiful Catholic church in the state of Michigan. I have no idea how true that is. That's just kind of word on the street through the years. I didn't understand entirely growing up, by no means. When I was born, my name was actually Amanda Starlight for the first 3 days. And some other adults came in to my mother's hospital room and didn't appreciate that name very much for reasons we'll leave out of videos because it doesn't matter anymore. It didn't matter then, should have never mattered then, but here nor there. There were adults that didn't appreciate it. And so last minute, my mother changed my name to Angelique. That name derived from the Black Witch Angelique off of the old Dark Shadows soap opera that my mother used to run home from school to watch. Basically catch the last few minutes of as she was growing up. I'm going to repeat that because I think it's important now in 2022 to realize that our programming that we were watching on our televisions as far back as, I'm going to say, 70s, maybe earlier. Definitely earlier, actually. You know, I'm actually curious about that. I meant to look that up the other day, what year that program actually started. Because we grew up believing that, being told that there were people burned for behaving that way. And yet, some of the first TV programming that took place was a soap opera based on dark witchery. And then I got the joys without realizing. She didn't realize either. I got the joys of being named after a dark witch. And then ironically, when I was 3 years old, I was moved a garage and 5 houses down from what some consider to be the most beautiful Catholic church in the state of Michigan. Across the street from the chief of police. We'll get into some of that in later days, I promise. Good times, good times. With that being said, there's been several times in my life that I wanted desperately to legally change my name to what it should have been, to what it was supposed to be, to what my mother's intention was. My mother's intention. My mother listening to herself and following her intuition instead of listening to the dark forces that came into her hospital room and cast shadows upon what she knew to be her truth. And she had a baby Mandy Star light in her arms. I point that part out heavily, and right now, I suppose, right out the gate, 6:06 on the clock. Because it's something that intertwines deeply with the way that my life went. And as much as I've had the thought before, like, holy shit, I was named after a dark witch. Are you kidding me? Like, she meant no harm. I know this. It's the programming. There was no harm directly intended in naming me after a dark witch, character or not. More than likely not, given the circumstance. A deeply embedded battle that I ultimately ended up battling for 41 years against dark forces trying to have me, when the reality was they had no right to me. We'll get into why she sounds like a crazy bitch. And again, you can choose to hang around and see where all of this goes, right along with myself, because we're not 100% sure where all of this is going to go. But we do know, if it was not people like myself willing to sit in front of a camera, or people in general, and speak their stories, allow people to learn and connect things in their own lives from their personal stories, traumatic or not, I wouldn't be where I am today. Possibly not entirely true, because, man, I have one hell of a team behind me. My reality is that I am pretty much alone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at this point, and have been for quite some time. And yet, I'm very much so never alone. I have an extremely strong team behind me, and I've known that for my entire life without realizing the depths of how deep and intertwined and real my story actually is. So someday soon, or than later, don't be surprised if I do end up announcing that I have legally changed my name. One of the things that has always been said is that, had she been thinking, she would have named me Angel Starlight. Well, you can't think clearly when you're in distress. She had just had a baby. She was in a hospital. And the adults that intervened are pretty powerfully energetic beings. So, with that said, my name's Angel. And something I refused to adopt growing up, by the way. I wanted nothing to do with anything angels. Nothing. Like, nope, don't give me toys that are angels. Nope. Like, and again, more of that intertwined connection thing. Um, but today I'm proud to say that my name's Angel. My name's not only Angel, uh, but the badge 1515 on the clock. The badge that I was given a handful of years ago is one of the biggest honors I've ever had in my life. And that's coach. Spirituality and everything they said was bad. Okay, not everything, that's ridiculous, but we'll get there. Most things that they said was bad growing up for me. Excuse me. Energy. Throat chakra clear. Damn, okay. um, let's step back to the fact that I'm born and raised in Michigan. Michigan has been a medically legal state for 13 years, 2008, whatever that adds up to be. Well, 13 years is more than likely it. 14 years, 13. We'll get there because man, is that important as well. Um, I'm also a product knowledge guru by nature, is kind of the giggle that I give myself, because once I have a product in my hand that is important, I need to know why it's important. Not only why, but what makes it important, who it's important for. The list goes on. So, at 18 years old, I was a licensed hairstylist, cosmetologist, technically. So, licensed to do just about anything I wanted with hair care, skin care, nail care, you name it. But I was behind the chair. I cut the hair, I colored the hair, I played with the hair, I made the hair pretty. Um, Later in life, I realized that it wasn't necessarily 6:13 on the clock. It wasn't necessarily that position that I appreciated. The position I ended up falling in love with was the product knowledge, the hair care product. I was an at-home mother for 14 years before I went back to work, and when I went back to work, I was hired into a salon in the Genesee Valley Mall. It was called Trade Secrets at the time, and they had a full retail shop in front of the salon. So I applied to be the beauty advisor in the front room while I thought I was working my way back up to get behind the chair. Um, I ended up falling in love with that product knowledge and being able to get the right products for the right reasons into the right hands, and having those souls come back in. So extremely thankful for being given very simple information that they just had never been told before. And they're right. They're right. Like standing behind the chair sometimes, all the time at the time, we didn't focus on the education behind what we were doing. It wasn't what we were doing. I went from there to discovering Sephora inside JCPenney's. Absolutely fell in love with that place the very first time I stepped in the door and knew I had to be a part of it. And so I transitioned and worked at our Cortland Center Mall before doing the new store open in the Genesee Valley Mall like a year later. At which point I moved up into management position with that transition, and we did that new store open. That led to hearing the two words together: cannabis and medicine. I didn't understand. And what, a 2020 on the clock. Oh, damn. Thank you. I had to know why that was being said. I had to know what was going on. And I had to know what was going on because cannabis had been a part of my life for my entire life. And I am talking since in womb. I was one of the very, very, very lucky ones. And literally the number one blessing my mother has given me in life was listening to herself and her own intuition and choosing to use cannabis while she was pregnant for me. And not only when she was just pregnant for me, but it was not something that was not ever around me. It was always around me. Now, I'm not talking ridiculous here. I'm not like, don't take that too far. My reality is, I grew up with nothing. So it's not like there was ever a ton of the stuff around by any means. With that being said, between all of the adults and the people that I was surrounded with in my lifetime, the reality is it was just never kept away from me. And I, from birth, would rather be with the adults than with the kids, playing with the toys in the bedroom type stuff. It was just never my position. I didn't understand why. The adults and the people around me definitely didn't understand why. But it just was what it was. That was not where my brain was supposed to be. So when I started hearing the two words together, everything started making sense. That is what I was always drawn to. Not that I didn't experiment and mess with other minor things, and then some not so minor things. But say alcohol was just never really my choice. I did so with the best of them, and the best of them from 9 years old to about 14 years old was some pretty heavy days in the alcohol department. But again, here nor there, I knew it was marijuana. It was weed. I wanted to smoke a joint. Like, that's what I wanted to do. And to hear, my mother speak of it, especially when I was young, we're polar opposites. Understand that before I say this. Where my mother and I are polar opposites, literally. She is an extreme agoraphobic, as they called it then, agoraphobic, as they call it today, in extreme ways. The last thing she wanted was attention drawn to her. And I am an absolute Leo, and I don't mind it. I don't seek it. I don't choose to be on a stage. But it is and has been the position and the role in life that I've taken. I don't mind it. I'm not intimidated by it. It doesn't hurt my feelings. My mom, no, please don't. And we'll get into more of those stories later too. But with that said, when I was younger, I can remember hearing things like, back up. The standing joke was because I was the toddler sitting on the lap while cannabis was being smoked around me. And the standing joke was it's the only way that I could keep her from climbing the walls. And the reality is she was not wrong. Uh, Not wrong in that whatsoever. And as much as many will want to look at the situation and not agree with it, um, it was absolutely 110% what was best for me. Her reasons for doing it don't even matter. Again, I grew up across the street from the chief of police. We'll talk about that more later. So, I started diving into what all of this bringing cannabis on legally, medically, I just dove in head first into my own research, my own knowledge. Also keeping in mind that it's not something I chose for my own children. I continued to shadow my cannabis use. My children never were the wiser until they were much, much, much older. So I dove into research for myself, and the more I connected, the more I learned, the more information and knowledge I had, the more I realized how desperately our people needed help in understanding what it meant for us. I ended up being on the front line in the trenches in Flint, Michigan, through the beginning rains and onward of the entire movement. Guess I am kind of bouncing that around. Sorry, guys, it's not stable. We'll get to that another time. I dove head first. So my two passions, because I am going to wrap this up and just know that we're going to get deeper into these kinds of conversations as I go forward. I'm probably even going to just continue to keep recording and having more to share now, or in the very near future, because there's just a lot. There's just a lot. And you either want to hear about it and understand it and learn who I am, know where I come from. Maybe it helps you in some of your own life battles, cycles, etc. Two passions. Two things that have been forever in my life since the day I was born. Spirituality and marijuana. Going forward, this channel is looking like it's going to be primarily for the raw, open discussions on whatever it is that comes through that I think I need to be sharing with you guys, which I don't really hold back very much, so get ready. But then channel number two, which was technically one, but we're starting this one first now. Follow that intuition, y'all. Angel's Healing Corner 313. That is where I plan on predominantly focusing on the actual spirituality aspects of life. So the astrology, the channeling, the tarot, how it all intertwines, why they say it's wrong when the reality is that it's not. It is all in how you use it. and we will get deeper into that discussion as well, because I know that for certain, 110% certain, from the Most High Himself. Take it or leave it, take it as you will. We're at 30 minutes and 13 seconds, now over, of course, but I'm not surprised that that's what that just said. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up here. And if you want to chime in on the rest, they'll be around shortly. Bye, guys.